So, transcribe sentence. Let's listen to the first one.
T'es pas venu en voiture?
T'es pas venu en voiture. T'es pas venu en voiture. Let's see. Oh, there was a mistake there. Have you been learning a language for some time and you're frustrated to no end by how little you can actually understand when native speakers converse at a normal pace? Do you wish you could finally enjoy a movie or a series in your target language without having to rely on subtitles? The answer to your problem lies in developing strong listening comprehension skills. If you can relate to this, stay tuned because by the end of this video, your views on understanding native speech will be changed forever. I'm here with a very special guest today who's going to put me through a little challenge to see how well I actually understand native speech in multiple languages. And we're going to show you a tried and tested training method that can help you improve your ability to understand native speakers even when they talk fast. I promise it's gonna be fun. Let's dive right in. Hi guys, I'm here with Jobst, who is not just a good friend of mine, but also a very passionate language learner. So I will let him introduce himself before we talk about the topic of today. Jobst, it's all yours.
Hi everyone, I'm from Germany. I'm not only passionate about language learning, but also about language education, finding ways to learn languages better and faster. And as you might have guessed, being here with Luca today, who speaks, how many languages do you speak?
14 foreign languages.
14?
Plus mine.
Wow. 14. Last time I checked was only 12.
Well, I've been missing out.
Yeah, I have. Well, I should be following you more often on social media, I guess.
You should.
Anyway, we have a really interesting topic today, a topic that I think should be at the top of the list of every serious language learner, and that is listening comprehension.
Excellent. So let's talk about listening comprehension. But before we do, I want to ask you this question. How did you get into language learning in general and language education?
Well, that was when I had my pivotal moment with learning Spanish a few years ago. I had just passed the B1 level exam and I thought, okay, I'm now finally at an intermediate level. And then a few days later, I was at a restaurant with a friend, and at the next table, there were a few Spanish people having an animated conversation. And although I was listening to them the whole time, I realized I cannot understand anything of what they're saying. And at that moment, it dawned on me there must be something wrong with the way I'd been learning the language.
I would say, to Jobst's credit, that this is a very common situation. It reminds me of not only myself and what I had to endure and go through, but also of a student of mine, an American student of mine. She had been learning Spanish for 2 years, and then she went to Mexico. She had prepared some lines to interact with waiters at restaurants, etc. Then she did say those lines. She managed to get her point across. The problem was that when the waiter replied, she was at a loss. She couldn't understand anything. I still remember as if it were today that the guy said, blah. So before we talk about the how, and I'm pretty sure that you're very interested in the how to improve your listening comprehension, let's first address the problem of why this happens. Why is it so difficult to understand native speakers in real life situations?
I think there are several reasons. First of all, native speech tends to be very fast and it's fleeting. It's the moment it comes out, it's gone. You either understand it or you don't. The other aspect that's important is colloquialisms. You may have spent years studying a language from books and courses, and you still cannot understand common casual phrases that are used every day by actual native speakers.
True. The thing is, when it comes to understanding the real spoken language, the problem is that the language that native speakers use is very different from that of course books, right?
Absolutely.
So for example, the French, they say, je ne sais pas, when you see it in a nice packaged sentence in a course book. But then what do you hear when people say je ne sais pas?
Je sais pas.
Or je sais pas, right?
Even that. Yeah.
Accompanied by je sais pas.
Very fast.
Right?
But then, to be honest, I mean, do you always speak in full phrases when you speak in Italian? Do you only use formal language? Probably not, right?
So it's not just the French who speak this way, it's also the Italians, the Germans, exactly, the Spanish, etc. So, it's just the way the language is used. The language in course books is one thing, the language spoken in real life is another thing. And in English too, there's a lot of examples. One example is, I want to drink some black coffee in the morning. And if you think about it, when you hear it, it's totally normal. But if you think about it, black, the last part of the word black, merges with co. So black coffee. Nobody would talk like, hey, I would like to have some black coffee in the morning,
That's
right?
True. Completely.
So, okay, so we talked about some of the reasons why the language spoken by native speakers in real life situations is difficult. Now let's talk about how. How can we actually understand these native speakers finally? And this is what we're going to talk about next. So, you've developed a very cool language learning app to solve the problem of improving one's listening comprehension. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, you remember the incident I mentioned earlier at the restaurant?
How could I forget?
Okay, it was at that time that I realized I had to do something about my listening comprehension. So I started watching movies and series in Spanish with English subtitles at the time because I could hardly understand the Spanish dialogue.
It's amazing what you can do nowadays, right? You can watch any TV series, TV show, movie in one language, and then you can watch it also with subtitles in a wide range of languages, right? So this is fantastic for language learning, right?
That's true, but then again, movies and series are not made specifically for the purpose of language learning, so you always run to the problem that you have to look up words or figure out the structure of the sentence or the grammar. And in my case, I thought, why don't I just write down the dialogue and see how much of it I can grasp? So I just recorded a scene on my phone, I played it back, and then I just wrote down what I could understand of it. And then after a while, I realized, wow, I can understand more and more.
Bingo. So this sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it is. You want to give it a try?
Of course.
Okay, let's do it. So, Luca, I prepared a few audio snippets for you in several languages, and all you need to do is listen and then type word for word what you hear, and then we'll check the master transcript and see how many mistakes you made.
It's fine, but what if I do not make any mistake?
Then I will take you out to dinner tonight as your reward.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, let's go.
Let's get started. So, here we are, episode 1, Luca's Listening Challenge, German. Let me listen to the entire episode, which is just 13 seconds, and then I will go to transcribe sentence mode and listen to every sentence and try to figure out whether I can actually transcribe it well. Let's get started.
Ich kann's nicht glauben.
Was denn?
Wie leicht es dir fällt, deine Männer zu wechseln.
Du hast mir doch gesagt, dass ich meinen Ex so schnell wie möglich vergessen soll. Ich befolge nur deinen Ratschlag.
Okay, so transcribe sentence and let's see what happens.
Ich kann's nicht glauben.
Ich kann's nicht glauben. Okay, it gave me a mistake and it says ich kann es nicht glauben. So you have the mistake here is the fact that I did not write es entirely, the pronoun. I think it's no big deal. I think Jobst will still take me to dinner tonight, hopefully. And let's move on to the next sentence. Oh, I want to just emphasize the fact that here, if you click on the info button, you can get the translation in English. Ich kann's nicht glauben in German means I can't believe it. Let's move on to sentence 2.
Was denn?
This should be easy. Was denn? Okay, got that right. Let's move on to sentence number 3.
Wie leicht es dir fällt, deine Männer zu wechseln.
Vielleicht es dir fällt, deine Männer, let me see here, zu wechseln. Actually, it's wie leicht es dir fällt. And if you click on the info, this means how easy it is for you to change men. So instead, I just wrote vielleicht es dir fällt, which is actually a little bit weird, means maybe, so that's not exactly the sentence. I heard it not very correctly. Let's move on to sentence number 4.
Du hast mir doch gesagt, dass ich meinen Ex so schnell wie möglich vergessen soll.
This is kind of long, so let's see if I remember it. Du hast mir doch gesagt, dass ich meinen Ex let me listen to this again because I forgot.
Du hast mir doch gesagt, dass ich meinen Ex so schnell wie möglich vergessen soll.
Okay, du hast mir doch gesagt, dass ich meinen Ex so schnell wie möglich vergessen soll. Let's see. Almost correct. I got everything right except X. So the reason why this happened is because in German you have to capitalize all nouns. An ex, my ex-boyfriend. So you told me that I have to forget about my ex-boyfriend as soon as possible. In this case, X is just a noun, so that was a mistake in written German. And let's listen to the last sentence.
Ich befolge nur deinen Ratschlag.
Ich befolge nur deinen, let me see here, Ratschlag. Okay, here I made a mistake because I heard DT, Ratschlag, but actually it's not written with a D. Ratschlag actually means something else.
Ratschlag with a D means cartwheel. That's what children do for fun.
Okay, so I just, the words actually sound exactly the same, but they're written in a slightly different way, another idiosyncrasy of the beautiful German language. Okay, guys, so I'm here ready to face Luca's listening challenge French. Let me do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to listen to the entire episode, 11 seconds, and then I'm going to move to transcribe sentence mode.
T'es pas venu en voiture?
Ma bagnole est encore en panne cette semaine. C'est pénible. Je suis venue en bus. Il n'y avait pas de métro.
I love the French language. So, transcribe sentence. Let's listen to the first one.
T'es pas venu en voiture?
T'es pas venu en voiture. T'es pas venu en voiture. Let's see. Oh, there's a mistake there, and it says tu n'es pas venu en voiture. So this is interesting because in French, actually, the written language is quite different from the spoken language. They actually say t'es pas venu, but you have to write when you transcribe tu n'es pas venu en voiture. Let's move on, which means you haven't come by car, more or less. Let's move on to sentence number 2.
Ma bagnole est encore en panne cette semaine.
Ma bagnole est encore en panne cette semaine. Bagnole is a very nice term, which means my car. It's colloquialism. Again, let's see. Ma bagnole est encore en panne cette semaine. Got it right. Yops is taking me to dinner. So let's move on to sentence number 3.
C'est pénible.
C'est pénible. Got it right. And then...
Je suis venu en bus.
Thank you. Wait, let me listen to this again.
Je suis venu en bus.
Je suis venu en bus. I forgot the E at the end. In French, you have venu, which means je suis venu, a mec, a guy who says I have come. But if a girl says I have come somewhere, it's the same, but there's an E when you write, and I got that wrong. Jobst is definitely not taking me to dinner. Too many mistakes. So, let's move on to the next sentence.
Il n'y avait pas de métro.
Il n'y avait pas de métro. Let me see here. Okay, that's exactly the same mistake. They actually say, she actually says, il n'y avait pas de métro. There was no metro, but in the written language, you have to say il n'y avait pas. There's a double negation, ne before the verb and then pas. And I didn't write it. So again, I think Jops is not taking me to dinner, but I think I kind of survived. Here I am, Luca's Listening Challenge Spanish. Let's make that happen. Let me listen to the episode and then let's move on to transcribe sentence mode as usual.
Me llamo Tokio. Pero cuando comenzó esta historia, no me llamaba así. Esta era yo. Y este, el amor de mi vida.
Okay, this sounds familiar. Should be the beginning, the start of the first episode of La Casa de Papel, which is a very famous series in Spanish. I think some of you have watched it. So let me listen to the first sentence. Let's see what happens.
Me llamo Tokio.
Okay, this should be me llamo Tokio. That should be fine. Okay, I got that right. Let's listen to the second one.
Pero cuando comenzó esta historia, no me llamaba así.
Pero cuando comenzó, here we can use directly the accented syllables. Comenzó esta historia. No me llamaba así. Let's see. It's good. So this means here, by clicking on the info, but when the story began, I wasn't called that, or that wasn't my name.
Estará yo.
Estará yo. No, actually, this is a mistake. Estará yo doesn't mean much in Spanish. It's actually esta era yo. That was me. Instead, estará is actually he or she will be. So he, she will be me. It doesn't make any sense if you think about it. I should have thought about it a little bit more. This is a mistake. I should have paid a little bit more attention to actually the stress. Estará yo versus esta era yo. But again, connected speech is tricky. So, sentence number 4. That's the last one.
Y este, el amor de mi vida.
Y este, el amor de mi vida. Okay, it gave me the right answer. It says it's right, although, truth be told, there's a comma that I forgot because she says, y este, el amor de mi vida. She doesn't say, y este, el amor de mi vida. But, again, there's just a comma missing, and Lingophil was very forgiving, and maybe Jops is going to be very forgiving as well and take me to dinner.
So, Luca, how did you like it?
I loved it. I think it was great. I think it was very interesting to see how your brain sometimes tricks you into thinking that you actually know a sentence, a word, or a phrase, but then you check it and you realize, oh, that was not as I expected. But by doing that, by checking, you actually learn quite a lot, and it takes also a lot of focus. And I think it has the two main components of successful and efficient language learning, which are enjoyment on the one side and a challenge, because it is a challenging exercise. But I think any sort of growth entails a little bit of discomfort.
Plus, it also helps you not only to improve your listening comprehension skills, but also your command of grammar and your spelling, right?
So you get the best of both worlds, right?
Best of all worlds.
Spoken language and written language.
Exactly.
So, guys, that's it. If you want to know more about how the app works, please check in the description box below this video and also the pinned comment within the comment section. And I think this is it, right?
This is it.
So this is it, guys. As always, happy language learning, and bye for me.
Bye for me.
So, dinner's on you tonight, right?
Why? You didn't ace the listening comprehension test, Luca.
I kind of aced it. I just made a couple of mistakes here and there.
All right. I'll take you out to dinner.
Okay, so do I get to choose the restaurant?
Sure, as long as it's Cucina Italiana.
My stomach is rumbling right now, so we should actually go.